It appears that 3 wives weren't enough for Edward. He would boast to his fellow inmates that he intended to chalk up 7 marriages before he settled down to an monogamous old age. Edward seemed to be confident that no jury could convict him, believing that there was lack of evidence and there were no witnesses to back up this accusation, and that he could once again get off scot-free. He believed that if he could sow a sufficient and reasonable doubt that he could possibly walk out a free man once again. He would hear rumors about Elva's ghost, but would see it as testimony, but would see it as the ravings of a grief-stricken mother who had gone mad. And this, he thought, he can use to his advantage in court. Unfortunately for the prosecution, the testimony of Elva's ghost was deemed and ruled inadmissible by the judge before the trial got underway. When Edward was brought into the courtroom on the first day of the trial, it was all he could do to suppress a smug grin towards Mary. Edward's attorney shared his client's overconfidence, and that was his lawyer's gravest mistake, and the move that they thought they could win would be used against them. He thought that he could have some fun at Mary Jane's expense by asking her to repeat her ghost story in order to discredit her in the eyes of the jury. But despite the attorney's attempt to test her emotions, she remained persistent and calm throughout the questioning, impressing the court, the judge, and the jury. Nothing said about from the defense could sway her as she testifies with confidence. It was not her imagination, she assured the court, that told her that her daughter had been killed by having her breath choked out and her neck being squeezed off at the first vertebrae. Now, this was the first time that the precise cause of death of Elva had been mentioned during the proceedings, and when it was subsequently confirmed by the physician who had written the autopsy report, there was a hushed silence within the courtroom, which meant that everything that Miss Mary Jane Hester said was true. Edward was caught in a web of deceit and lies, and was convicted of the murder of Elva Shue. The only reason he escaped execution was due to the fact that he was convicted on circumstantial evidence and not the word of an eyewitness or based on the testimony of a ghost. He died in prison on the 13th of March, 1907, and was the only man to be convicted of murder in the United States on a testimony of a ghost. Now, this is from a book that I have read, and actually I'm going to grab the book here in a second. This book is called Ghosts: The True Cases of Hauntings and Visitations by Paul Rowland. That's where I got this story from, but I find it really cool to entertain you. But like I mentioned in my previous video, there is a link to the original story if you want to go into detail. Now, thank you guys for watching Scary Story Saturdays, the first episode in 3 parts. Now, the next story we're going to be talking is about a serial killer of a particular location known as Grim Road. Now, of course, it is fictional. Now, see you guys next time, and also stay tuned for later today for Army Men review video.